Hey everyone, Genome here. Well, it's been a little while since I've done one of these, but you know, I found a little time on my hands. I got inspired. And what, may you ask, did I get inspired to do? Well, I got inspired to do another subscriber contest submission. This one looked like it was kind of interesting. This is a video submission for Jeffrey KomiKHAN's 200th subscriber contest. So first off, you know, big kudos, Jeffrey, on hitting your sub count. Yeah, I feel your pain about slow sub growth, because I tell you, mine is like stuck in reverse in the La Brea tar pits. But you know, that's neither here nor there. Congrats on getting 200. You know, I've seen some of your content. I've been subscribed for a little while, so you know, keep up the good work, man. So for his contest, he had, you know, pretty simple premise to it. He wanted you, there's two different parts to it. He wanted you to name your 5 favorite comic book characters, and the second part is to name your most sentimental comic book. Now, you know, this is not necessarily the most valuable comic book, or, you know, the most sought after, the rarest, whatever. This is just your most sentimental book. So I guess I will start with the first part. Well, gee, that makes a whole lot of sense, right, Gino? And name off my 5 favorite characters of comics. I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way now. I was always a Marvel fanboy, so yeah, they're all gonna be Marvel, all right? Batman was close, he almost got on there because he was pretty cool, but I wasn't a huge DC guy and really too many other characters there. So, and of course Dark Horse had some good stuff too, but for, you know, long-term recurring characters, basically all my favorites were Marvel. So, you know, call me a pleb, whatever you want, but that's just how it was back then, you know? I thought they had the most dynamic and pretty much interesting characters. So anyway, let's get on to it. I guess I'll just go top to bottom. Let's just go 1 through 5. So my overall favorite, and I've done several videos on this character before, is the Punisher. Punisher, at least in his, you know, Volume 1, Volume 2 iterations, was definitely my favorite. I collected all things Punisher back then. You know, I had my Punisher Skull t-shirt, and that thing was rare. I think it cost me 25 bucks. I had to special order it through the comic shop. And no one else around town had one. It wasn't a popular movie thing at the time, you know, so I had Punisher posters on my walls. I recorded on VHS, no less, of course, the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie off of, I think it was Showtime we had at the time, and watched it over and over again, even though I didn't like it that much when you compare it to the movie or to the comics, but you know, whatever. It was the Punisher, so I had to get it, right? I had graphic novels. I had, you know, Punisher, the regular series, the War Journal. I got every one that I could find anyway, every guest appearance that he made, you know, during my time frame of collecting. And he popped around quite a bit, especially the Spider-Man and other comics like that. So yeah, I was a Punisher guy. But yeah, just overall my favorite. I mean, if you want to see a little more in depth of why I liked them, there's some other my submission videos. I'll try not to make this one 20 minutes long like I do all the other ones. So, so Punisher is #1 favorite, still is to this day. Oh, bless you! I love his character design. His black and white, you know, color scheme was just great. #2 probably have to be Captain America. You'll notice that I'd say the better portion of some of my favorite characters tend to be the more human characters, you know, not as many superhuman, unbelievable feats. But, you know, you have to really appreciate the plight of the more human characters in a meta-human world. But, yeah, Captain America's #2. Yeah, he can be pretty cheeseball, especially back until he got, you know, a little more deep in, like, the late 80s and 90s and all that. But, you know, he's Steve Rogers, so you gotta love Captain America. My all-time favorite story arc was Captain America Streets of Poison. You can't see it too well. Thanks to Journalist Comics Pop Culture, I got my Ron Lim signed version of one of the said books in that series. But well, I don't want to spoil it for you. Quick 30-second spoiler alert. If you've never read this comic or story arc and plan on reading it, you know, Captain America loses his power and then has a chance to regain it back and doesn't. And does it because he admits himself that Captain America is an ideal. It's not just a drug, you know, it's the person who it's in it, you know. So, you know, hey, whatever you want to take out of that, he made some hard choices over his career, and he fought some big baddies, and he never backed down, so gotta love Cap. Plus he's a great fighter, and he had a lot of good artists on his run. I love the Rick Levins's Danny Bellondi years. Ron Lim drew him excellent as well. So yeah, he had a lot of good artwork. Coming in third, I'm going to throw a villain at you. This one's, some people might think it's a little odd, but Juggernaut. Juggernaut is my favorite villain in comics and one of my favorite overall characters. He's not been treated very well by Marvel over the years. His power has fluctuated greatly. He's been beaten by teams and single opponents he shouldn't be beaten by. They're kind of messed up on his lore, but I always thought the idea behind him was really cool. You know, Marvel, especially Marvel, but Marvel is just rife with overpowered heroes, you know. Almost none of the villains can stand up to their heroes. And I know the good guy is always supposed to win, usually, you know, for the younger reader crowd or whatever, but, you know, once Thor or Hulk usually got into the fray, there wasn't a whole lot to be done, unless he had some sort of, you know, energy manipulator or matter manipulator or something like that. You know, some of the Deus Ex Machina or whatever, but would come in to help save the day. But Juggernaut was different. He could get in there and trade blows with the Hulk and Thor and basically the entire X-Men, the entire Avengers, whatever. And, you know, for once, they were on their back heel from one opponent. So I liked it, but I really liked the idea of what he was. You know, he was kind of an avatar. He was just an avatar of an immensely powered magical being, you know, Sidorak. In the Crimson Cosmos, I believe it was his realm. So basically, he was just a very small smidgen of Sidorak's power on Earth out there to cause destruction, you know. And I thought that was kind of cool. I always thought him as like a remote-controlled bad guy, you know. I mean, he had his own autonomy, and luckily he wasn't too smart. So yeah, he didn't really have any quests or, you know, aims for world domination anyway. That really wasn't his thing. He almost more like a small-time crook, you know, and he fell in with some bad people from time to time again. And he was definitely a bad character, but I just thought he was interesting. He was cool. Like I said, I liked him because, you know, in the completely overpowered Marvel hero universe, you know, he could stand around up there with those guys. So Juggernaut number 3. Number 4 is probably Gambit. I got in on the Gambit train, like when he first came out. Well, no, I thought I still had it, but my first appearance of Gambit, of course, was destroyed in the Great Flood, so I might even got rid of it. It must have been pretty bad if I got rid of it, because I even kept my warped copies of other stuff. But Gambit, I always loved his outfit design was cool. He used to have a pretty cool premise, you know, the thief that steals from thieves, and I thought his power was pretty cool. You know, it wasn't world bending, but it was very adaptable for the situation he was in, you know, turning kinetic energy, or stored potential energy into kinetic energy, whatever. I think it was his explanation of powers, but it was pretty cool, you know. I remember in the his first appearance, he used to throw like these little, looked like fish hooks almost, but they were like little, like almost like a throwing dart, and then that evolved into the whole playing card motif of his, which was pretty cool. I thought it fit his character well. And, you know, I just thought he was cool, you know, once again, mostly basically a human person with a superhuman power, you know, out there fighting the bad guys. But, yeah, I thought he was a cool character. We'll see if the movies ever do him justice. I severely doubt it. But, and last but not least is probably the pre-retcon Beyonder from Secret Wars 1 and 2. He was such a cool character, basically. The pre-retcon version was basically the most powerful being in creation, you know. I don't know if the one above all was even thought about then, you know. You know, this living tribunal, but he never seemed to get involved in that story, which would have been pretty cool if he'd had, to see how, you know, he stood up to that kind of power. The whole premise behind Beyond originally was he was just a manifestation of another dimension, another reality, another universe, really. I don't think, yeah, he was another universe all into himself. And then some big event in our cosmos kind of cracked a pinhole into his into his reality, his universe itself. In his universe, there was nothing. He was everything, and there was nothing else there but him. So it was very alien to him. So he kind of got a peek into our world, decided he wanted to come get a up close look at what's going on, and then he created Battle World, and he got heroes in huge fights with each other with great villains to see what our, you know, inclination of power was. Actually lost his power for a little while, the Doctor Doom, got it back. And then, but he was never really malevolent. He was just kind of like a toddler, really, with all that power and basically omnipotence, and didn't know what to do with it. You know, so in the second Secret Wars, he came to Earth and kind of stumbled around and played around as a human for a long time, and sought advice from others, and then, you know, other people were honing in on his power and this and that. But they're both really good storylines and story arcs. So, but Beyond Earth was really cool, I thought, and pretty well fleshed out and they didn't make him like a delirious bad guy like they could have, you know. I guess honorable mention for top 5 comic book characters would have to go to probably Conan. I like the way that they brought Conan into the comics. I mean, while of course a lot of his more sordid side was left out and omitted, of course, due to the reading audience, you know, like the Savage Sword of Conan had some pretty good imagery in it. Most of them were self-contained little stories, and, you know, I thought pretty fitting to the Robert E. Howard stuff. So yeah, I really like Conan a lot in the comic books. Okay, now for the most sentimental comic book in my collection. You know, I got to thinking a little bit and digging around. I'm like, well, you know, I have a lot of those that are my favorite. You know, so let's just get down to it. The Punisher #1 is my favorite comic that I have. Return to Big Nothing is right up there too. I like both of those. The Aliens vs. Predator little quick story arc in Dark Horse was just incredible. I mean, as far as overall enjoyment of a series, from everything from art to story and everything, is probably my total favorite of all time. I did a video several months ago about my first comic book ever, and that was West Coast Avengers #16 that I got in, like on Easter. I think it was Easter, in like a gift kind of package or whatever. And I still have it to this day. It's pretty beat up. it's just there for reminiscing. It's not for anything else. But, you know, so, you know, those all hold a special place in my heart. But really, if I got to get down to a most sentimental comic book, it would have to be Punisher War Journals #2 and 3. And I think I first read these. Let's see if my years line up here. 98. I think I first read these in 6th or 7th grade. And yeah, I was just blown away, man. We might have already been collecting some comics a little bit by then, but I read these. I borrowed them for a friend, and I read them over and over and over again. As I recall, I even bought these from him, and from looking at the condition of these, probably some of the originals, yeah, that I had bought. I bought it from cover price and everything. You know, $1.50 back then. I had to save up my lunch money and buy them off them. But yeah, I loved it. For everything from the art, and this is Potts and Lee right here, so you know it's prime. But it was just my favorite. What can I say? I mean, the story was pretty good, and it really got me loving the character. This was a guy who was vulnerable to the lowliest street thug out there. So it's kind of nice to see a hero in danger. I mean, you know, the hero's going to keep going on because he's a hero and all, but still, I thought it was great. It was well drawn and well written. So, and most of the Punisher stories were back then, especially on the War Journal side of things. But yeah, definitely had to be the Punisher War Journal #2 and 3. I guess you could say 2 is my most sentimental, just because I read it first in that order. But yeah, 2 and 3, it's an encompassing story. So, yep, that would have to be it. So, all right, there's my submission. Don't forget to go over to Jeffrey KomiKHAN's YouTube page, give him a sub and a check out. Watch some of his other videos out there. Make sure to give him some likes too. Yeah, he's got some pretty cool stuff over there. And I appreciate you running this contest, and I'll see everyone next time. Well, in the interim, I guess you know there was only one way that this video could end.